ago, I published an article called Confessions of a Hopeless Optimist, and you can find it on my website. So here's how my thesis has developed in the last week. I suggested that expert analysts commonly make inaccurate and overly negative predictions about a problem based on the faulty method of extrapolation. Usually their initial projections are progressively proven more and more wrong. So more good news this week. I know we're talking about people dying here, and so it's hard to call this good news, but here goes. When I wrote my article, the official model indicated the US would experience 2 million deaths. A week ago, the White House made news by reducing this projection to just about 100,000 to 240,000 US deaths. When they did, I predicted further downward revisions, and this week that prediction came true. This week the numbers were revised down twice, first to 81,000 and then now to 61,000. Not so bad compared to the original 2 million. And I expect to see this number keep coming down. In the end, it looks like that this disease will be just about as deadly as the flu and pneumonia combined, which will kill just about 55,000 Americans this year, and will remain a drop in the bucket of the 3.5 million people worldwide who have already died from all communicable diseases combined. It will also be much less than the 1.4 million deaths which have already been caused this year by the self-inflicted scourge of smoking. The White House is also using a model from the Institute of Health Metrics to estimate hospital and healthcare needs. This model has consistently overestimated the number of projected hospitalizations. As of the data reported on April 2nd, this model predicted that 193 Americans would be hospitalized, while the actual reported number was 27,069. The people at IHM are also in the process of dramatically downgrading their models because they've been so wrong. I also warned that the worst projections would be sensationalized by the media, who would only report the scariest news. Well, this week brought scores of new examples of just how far the media will go to spread hysteria. This week we were treated to a scandal when CBS broadcasted a video of a nurse who was hysterically crying because her hospital was so overrun, and the hospital she worked for had asked her not to wear an N95 mask because of shortages. It turns out that fact checkers found that most of the facts of her story were completely fabricated, and CBS once again had to apologize for the fake content. I remind everyone to be careful of the news you're consuming because it's the media's job to scare us about the coronavirus, and they will do everything in their power to do just that. My main thesis is that in crisis situations, the game gets changed by human ingenuity. So more good news on this front. Our ground war of social distancing is working. It appears clear by now that the number of new cases and deaths in Italy and Spain have rolled over, and the daily counts are slowing down. While counts in the US are still growing, they have also been growing at a slower rate, and their rate of change is now looking like it's rolling over as well. New cases peaked on April 4th, and deaths peaked on April 7th, and both have been lower every day since. Progress continues to be made on the production of ventilators and medical supplies, testing capability, and drug therapies and vaccines. It appears that the main area that's working this week is the use of blood plasma from recovered patients as a therapy to provide needed antibodies to help infected patients to fight off the virus. Our scientists continue the hard work of developing therapies, and they are winning this battle. As for the equity market, the S&P 500 once again clicked into rally mode as investors began to embrace the idea that the shutdown might be shorter than expected. The S&P had its best week since 1974, rallying by over 12%. All in all, the market is up just about 25% from its low back on March 23rd. Markets are always providing us with opportunities to learn something, and this week they taught us once again a lesson in the futility of market timing. Last week, after a healthy advance in equities over the prior 2 weeks, the financial media was advancing the idea that the next big move might be down, and that bear markets often have successive periods of decline, followed by these interim rallies that can cause investors to become too exuberant, only to experience yet another big sharp leg down. Many investors were tempted to time this next leg down and to sell last week in hopes of swooping back in later when prices have declined. Many investors did just that last week, back when the S&P 500 was lingering right around 2,500. I can only imagine how those investors are feeling today, with the S&P trading at a value today of $27.89. They are, as I like to say, double-crossed. If you sold back at $2,500, what the heck do you do now? I've learned over a long career that market timing is like playing blackjack. You might hit a big hand once in a while, but you should never delude yourself into thinking that you can keep your success going. In blackjack, the odds are heavily skewed in favor of the house. In investing, the odds are also heavily skewed against the market timer. This week was an opportunity for a lot of investors to learn that lesson the hard way. Lastly, it's a holiday weekend, and Christians around the world will celebrate Easter, our annual holiday of spiritual renewal. We will be reminded that despite our struggles and challenges and hardships, we can still have faith in better days ahead, and that the world we will create together after this crisis will be better, more caring, and more compassionate than ever. Please enjoy this time with your family and have a wonderful holiday weekend. Be of good cheer, friends. This too shall pass, and no matter what, nobody can argue the fact that we are now 1 week closer to the end of this crisis than we were last Friday.